G'day guys and welcome back to your English Aussie. Today we're going to chat through game week 15, our transfer plans. We're going to go through the player analysis section showing all the statistics. We're going to have a look at captaincy over the upcoming game weeks. We will run through how my team's doing. We're currently sitting at 289k in the world. And then we will do a little section on game week 15 predictions and what we think is going to happen in each of the matches. We'll kick off quickly with the player analysis and the statistical analysis, and then we'll move on to some of the tactical side. So starting off with the defenders, looking this week, some key ones that we've just picked up, Gabriel and Gvardiol. Gabriel obviously didn't play last week for Arsenal. We do expect that he's going to be fit this week to take part in the game, and it was more of a precautionary measure. Arsenal's fixture run, especially over the next four, is really nice from a defensive perspective, with Fulham, Everton, Crystal Palace, and Ipswich over the next four games. Gabriel, obviously a goal threat off corners, with Arsenal set pieces being a key talking point at the moment. Another guy from Arsenal also just to note is Jurriën Timber at right back, scored for Arsenal in this game week against United off of a corner. He's also playing in the right back role and sort of like an inverted wing back at times, underlapping with Saka, sometimes overlapping with Saka, and really picking up some interesting positions inside the box. I think we do have something on Timber later in this section where we can show his stats are just a little bit outside of this top 20, 30 defenders. However, I think recently over the recent game weeks, you've seen a bit of a change in the role he's been playing. He's been getting forward much more, linking up with Saka a lot better, and actually picking up some great positions inside of the box with quite a few touches inside of the box. So yeah, I think he's definitely somebody to look at. I think if I was to pick an Arsenal defender right now, I would probably go for Timber, just based off that and the likelihood of him playing in most game weeks due to Arsenal not having a lot of rotation at the back. Another talking point is Gvardiol this week. Man City kept a clean sheet this week against Nottingham Forest. I know they did have a few chances. However, Gvardiol was getting into some incredible attacking positions again, having a couple of chances to score, one which he really should have finished clean through on goal. And for somebody who is playing for, one of the three best teams in the league at the moment, maybe four best teams in the league at the moment, with Chelsea playing so well, in Man City, and with a really good fixture run coming up over the next 4 weeks of Palace, Man United, Villa, and Everton, with Palace and Everton really struggling to put goals together in most games, and United obviously still working things through. I think Guardiola could be a really nice option, both for attacking returns and also for potential clean sheets. I know Man City haven't defended particularly well. But I think one of the key things this season is to find those defenders who are going to get you those attacking returns, given that clean sheets have been so difficult to pick. And obviously, playing for Man City, he does have a slightly higher chance if Man City can sort of work some things out and get into gear defensively. Moving on to the next sort of defenders in the lineup here, we've gone for Diego Dalot of Man United, and that's mostly due to United's fixture run over the next few games. They've got Forest, and if you exclude Man City, they've got Bournemouth and Wolves after that, which is a really nice few games for Man United over the next four games. After that, they do run into Newcastle and Liverpool, but then again, it's Southampton, Brighton, Fulham, Crystal Palace, Tottenham, Everton, Ipswich. So there is quite a nice little run of games for United over the next few game weeks. And I think Diego Dalot seems to be picking up that wing back spot for Amorim in his setup on the left wing, with Ahmad playing on that sort of right wing back role. So I think he's definitely an option going forwards that we could look at if we're looking for sort of around that 5 million mark defender. Another option is Estepinian with Brighton's quite nice fixtures. He's been really getting up that left wing, supporting Mitoma, putting some nice crosses into the box. Statistically, he's looking at 0.17 expected goals and assists, most of that being 0.14 of assist potential. Their fixtures over the next four: Leicester, Crystal Palace, West Ham, Brentford, which is quite nice. After that, Aston Villa and Arsenal, and then again a nice fixture run of Ipswich, United, Everton, Forest, Chelsea, Southampton, Bournemouth, Fulham. So Brighton fixtures are looking really nice over the next sort of almost 13, 14 game weeks, with a couple of tricky fixtures mixed in there that hopefully you can rotate out of. So that was kind of a talking point at around that 5 million mark. Around the 4.5 million mark, I think the only sort of defender that I'd be looking at the moment is actually Milos Kerkez of Bournemouth. He's picked up 1 goal and 2 assists so far this season. His non-penalty expected goals and assists is slightly too low to make this list, but it's at 0.12. And his fixtures coming up are nice, with Ipswich, West Ham, Man United, and Crystal Palace. Um, and I think that he would be, and Bournemouth again, like showing those wing backs have been attacking quite a lot, getting right up and down the wings, and he's sitting at 4.5 million at the moment. I think he'd probably be my favourite of the cut price defenders at the moment. The reason for that is I think Ait Nouri at the moment, Wolves' defence have been really poor, and just haven't been able to keep any clean sheets. They have also been experimenting a little bit with a 4 at the back in one of their games, and that did reduce Ait Nouri's attacking threat, and his ability to be playing in that high wing back position. So for me, he's not a buy, and I would consider, it's a bit of a luxury transfer at the moment, but potentially moving him on for somebody else, as Wolves' fixture run is starting to come to an end. They probably have maybe 3 more nice game weeks: West Ham, Ipswich, Leicester, and then Man United, and it starts to get a bit less nice after that. Lewis Hall of Newcastle is somebody that I would consider. I think although the next this week he's got Brentford, after that Leicester and Ipswich, Aston Villa, and then the fixture run's quite nice: Man United, Tottenham, and then Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton, Fulham. So Newcastle do have, if you can rotate and you have some other defenders, quite nice fixtures going forwards. So he would be the other one that I would consider. Luca Dean, sort of for me, bit of a concern with his rotation with Matson, so wouldn't put him in there. Trent Alexander-Arnold, I know a lot of people are trying to transfer him in at the moment. I would say I would actually be looking to transfer him out if you've got him. He definitely wouldn't be a buy for me. He hasn't been playing in an attacking position under Slot. I know he got 2 assists on the week, but it was simply Liverpool were 2-1 down. They needed to start going forwards. They brought him on for a burst of sort of 30 minutes, and he really got forwards. But generally in games for Liverpool, they're playing in a much more controlled manner. Trent hasn't been picking up those attacking positions, and McAllister has also been taking corners from that right-hand side quite frequently in the last couple of games. So that really does reduce his assist threat. The high non-penalty expected goals and assists that he's picked up at the moment, obviously this week picking up 2 assists, and then previously before that was actually at the beginning of the season just some big chances that he created for Diego Jota that he wasn't able to finish, where he was picking up sort of 1.0 for the game. So really, like, that is slightly inflated, and I would see Trent like much lower, around those sort of middle price 0.2 expected goals and assists. So for me, he's a do not buy and actually a sell for this game week. Moving into the midfield, I think obviously the main guys are still the main guys at the moment. Mo Salah with another incredible game week, 2 goals and an assist. Cole Palmer scoring a goal for Chelsea in a 5-1 win. And really, like, this game week, you could have picked either as captain. I thought that actually the Newcastle game would be a lot trickier for Liverpool and they would not score as many goals. But Salah just showed how good a player he is and how great he's been playing this season. He did have a couple of games where he reverted back to his take a few chances to score a goal. But this game week, he again was the clinical. It showed the clinicalness that he has been showing for really like a lot of this season. And the reason why he's currently sitting on 13 goals and 8 assists in 14 games, which is just an absolutely ridiculous stat over the first 14 games of the season. taken the golden boot off Haaland so far. And to be honest, I think it would be foolish if you didn't captain Salah in this game week with the form he's on, and against Everton, who have not been particularly very good of late, despite their result this week. Cole Palmer again looked good for Chelsea. He had a few chances. His goal in the end ended up being quite lucky, but there were a few other opportunities that he had that he could have scored. I think we saw, as we said, the game sort of played out as we expected against Southampton this week. Chelsea's high press caused them a lot of problems. Southampton caused themselves a lot of problems, and they scored plenty of goals. I think Cole Palmer's a hold or a buy over the next few game weeks. Chelsea have got some nice fixtures coming up. I think this Tottenham game can be a really interesting game this game week, with both teams looking to get forwards and break in transition. And whether Tottenham can break down Chelsea's super high energetic press is going to be a big point in this game and how it comes out. Other guys that I'd be looking at this week, Bukayo Saka, obviously, as one of those big three. I think those three guys at the moment are really sort of must buys into your team. If you don't have them, they would be my priorities going forwards. They've got some really nice fixtures for Palmer and Saka, and then Salah is just in an exceptional form. And these guys are the people who've driven me up to 290k in the world at the moment. And guys, just while we're here, just a quick reminder, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. It will really help these sort of small channels grow. And I really appreciate the subscribe. Like the video if you sort of enjoy this content and you'd like to see more of it. If there is anything else that you want me to do or want me to show in future game weeks, please comment below and I'll happily try to include that. It was a bit of a rushed midweek game week this week, so I don't have all the information I normally have throughout the week. But hopefully this should give you everything you need. My other pick for this game week is Jarrod Bowen, who over the next few weeks for West Ham has some really nice fixtures. They have Wolves, Bournemouth, Brighton, and Southampton. All of those teams leaking goals this season. And I think Jarrod Bowen, even though they only scored one goal this week in their loss to Leicester, he was really the driving force in their team on the right hand side. He did create a lot of chances. He got into some great positions. He's their sort of talisman player and really like the key to their attack. He's also on penalties, and at 7.4 million, he's a nice replacement for potentially like an Mbumo who you might have had in your side, or even a Bruno Fernandes. I think Jarrod Bowen for the next 4 game weeks is someone that I'd look to attack. If you're not sure about him and you don't bring him in, the longer it goes, the fixtures are probably not worth bringing him in. I think for me, it's a bring him in now. If you don't do that, next week potentially still, and then after that I wouldn't bring him in for a sort of 2 game week period. I would start to look at some of the other fixtures coming up and try to get some of those players in, or focus on potentially defenders or forward transfers. I think for me this Jarrod Bowen transfer at the moment is about attacking that upside that he could potentially bring with West Ham's great fixtures coming up. Some other talking points in the midfield, Buonanotte of Leicester, who we've spoken about. Leicester have some reasonable fixtures. He's been really dynamic for them in the midfield, creating a lot of chances, great bringing the ball up, and quite a key player actually since he broke into that Leicester side. Other thoughts, Bournemouth have some lovely fixtures with Ipswich, West Ham, United and Crystal Palace. And the 2 guys I'd look at in the midfield is Antoine Semenyo, who is, I think, at 5.8, maybe, Semenyo. 5.7 at the moment. And the other player who, again, didn't quite make it onto here is Kluivert, who's at 5.4 million, who is somebody that you could consider bringing in as sort of a cut price midfielder. He's on penalties for Bournemouth, and probably he's someone that I would have potentially over Semenyo due to that case. He also has an absolute rocket in his boot, so he's got some potential for some long range screamers. Other players to consider, Martinelli of Arsenal. Arsenal obviously have some good fixtures. If you're trying to cover for not having a Saka, potentially he's someone that you can look to go for. His finishing hasn't been quite fantastic this season, but he has been picking up some good positions and having some good opportunities. Anthony Gordon at Newcastle. Newcastle have got some reasonable fixtures from an attacking perspective. He's obviously a key player in their side. getting an assist last week against Liverpool. And Mohamed Kudus and Karo Mitoma from West Ham and Brighton. Kudus has just come back this week after serving a 5-game ban for his red card. And Mitoma for Brighton on that left wing, in that sort of front four with João Pedro, Welbeck, Jorginho Ruta, has really been nice. For me, I wouldn't look to double up on that Brighton offence. So if you do have a João Pedro, Mitoma's probably not the one to go for, and I'd be looking more at a Kudus, a BOWEN, a Martinelli, Gordon, Semenyo, Kluivert, etc. Moving on to the front line, and we have right at the top here Erling Haaland in red. I think for me, he is a sell at the moment, or he is a do not buy. I just think the funds are so much better managed across the midfield. And for me, if you are looking to go for Haaland, I think game week 18 is where you want to bring him in. They do have a nice fixture run, like 5 fixture run for Man City, Everton, Leicester, West Ham, Brentford, Ipswich, where he could be very profitable. At the moment, for me, I think I'm probably not going to bring him in over that fixture run. I'm going to maintain what I've got going on at the moment with 3 premiums in the midfield, 1 high price striker, 2 sort of cheaper forwards. I think that's an optimal sort of team structure for the time being. If Haaland does go really well in those first couple of game weeks, then there is a possibility that I might have a couple of transfers that I can just quickly swap him in for perhaps a Saka, perhaps a Palmer, probably not a Salah in his form at the moment. And that's why I would try and maintain like a Jackson, a Isak, a Watkins, or one of those sort of slightly higher price strikers in your team. So it is more easy to swap into Haaland if you need to. For me, I'm looking to go without him over that period, see how he does. And if he does do well or reasonably well and not lights out, then I might consider bringing him in. Man City have another nice fixture run from game week 28 through to really the end of the season. And if Haaland shows that he's someone that I should have in my team over the nice fixture runs, like he was at the beginning of the season, then potentially he's someone that I'd look to bring back in 28, perhaps on a wild card around that sort of time, where there is another fixture swing that could be useful for a wild card too. So this sort of 18 to 23 for Haaland's a bit of a tester for me, test the waters to see how he goes and whether Man City can get back on track. Other players that I'd be looking at, Nicholas Jackson had his rest for Chelsea. I know he's still on 4 yellow cards, but the form he's in, I'm not expecting him to make any silly tackles or pick up another yellow card, unless it's at Everton and he wants Boxing Day off, and he just picked up one there. But I think he's definitely worth having in your team at the moment over this Chelsea fixture run. He's been in sensational form, and really someone who's looked fantastic and really been picking up great positions, improving his footballing IQ, looking really great under Maresca, has coached him fantastically well. He's definitely improving as a footballer, positionally, awareness-wise, and IQ-wise. So yeah, Nicholas Jackson definitely someone I'd looked at. He's probably, him and Isak are my 2 at that sort of high mid price point around the 8-9 million mark, who would be my 2 main guys that I would be looking at. It would be between these 2. Isak obviously scored a fantastic goal against Liverpool this week. He's looking like he's back to his best in the Newcastle lineup. He's the main man for Newcastle. He's also on penalties, which Nicholas Jackson is not. And Newcastle do have some nice fixtures, specifically from an attacking point of view, over the next few game weeks. They have Brentford, Leicester, Ipswich, Villa. Man United and Tottenham are still not terrible fixtures. And then they continue that with Wolves, Bournemouth, Southampton over those fixtures. So Isak could be definitely somebody that I'd be looking to get into the side at the moment. And for me, he's probably that's between him and Jackson. I would be looking to bring in from game week 16 once Ollie Watkins has played Southampton this week. We'll see how he gets on. And then potentially I'll be looking at either a Jackson or Isak as a replacement in the future. Ollie Watkins, again, if you got him, he's a hold. If you don't have him, I'm not sure I would bring him in specifically for this Southampton game. I do think there's rotation and minutes issues with him, especially over the Christmas period. However, he has played 14 out of 14 games so far and started all of them. 7 goals and 3 assists. So although we've said he's not had his greatest season, he's still up there, the fourth top scorer in the Premier League, or fourth top forward goal scorer in the Premier League at the moment, just 1 and 2 off Wissa, Jackson, and Wood, for that next couple of spots. At that sort of slightly lower price point, I think the main guys are João Pedro at Brighton, fantastic fixture run, Leicester, Palace, West Ham, Brentford, just amazing price point. And then also Yoane Wissa of Brentford, really like the main forward for Brentford at the moment, doing a lot more than Mbumo, unbelievable footballing IQ, brilliant positionally, and just has a knack of turning up in the right place at the right time, and continues to score goals for Brentford again, who are in a very, very attacking team. Wizard obviously has fantastic statistics with non-penalty expected goals at 0.77, only behind Erling Haaland at the moment, and expected goals as at 0.69, who again just only second to Haaland. So those are the two that I would look for, with Welbeck also being in the mix, with those great Brighton fixtures. Outside of that, other players to consider: Chris Wood. Nottingham Forest do have a few iffy fixtures coming up, but I don't think they're horrendous. And actually, Forest's fixtures start to turn really nice from game week 19. So if you can hold him, if you do have him, and you're planning to hold him through United, Villa, Brentford, Tottenham, things do start to pick up for Chris Wood. And he is someone that I am considering holding through that period, and looking to keep him into Forest's nice fixture swing from game week 19. Evan Nilsson at Bournemouth again with some nice fixtures, although not on penalties, has been scoring for Bournemouth. He has got 4 goals so far this season, not someone to turn your nose up at. However, probably not on the top of my list at that price point. And then Mateus Cunha at Wolves. Obviously, Wolves still have a few nice fixtures over the next 3-4 weeks. If you've got him, I would keep him. If you don't have him, he's not somebody that I would be prioritizing bringing into my team at the moment. I just think Wolves aren't a fantastic side, and long term, he's probably going to end up coming out of your team again, after those sort of 3-4 game weeks. Having said that, Cunha is a fantastic player, and has been proving me wrong consistently in weeks. And Wolves are still trying to find something at the moment, so there is some potential for things to improve there. Moving on to my personal player picks for this week, and we have spoken about all of them so far. I think number one for me is Nicholas Jackson. Still for Chelsea, I think they've been looking really nice. He's looked fantastic for Chelsea, and despite his sort of rest this game week, I think he'll be straight back into the side, for Chelsea, over this Christmas period, and that's hopefully his rest. I do think it's a really close call between him and Isak. So for me, I would not have a problem with you going for either one of them, over this period. Um, Jared Bowen is the next person that I'm keen to get into the team for. For me, it's like a 4-week period where he has fantastic games, and I'd want him in the team. After that, he's someone that I would potentially look to move on from my team in that sort of mid-price midfielder role, and I think that is really one of the roles at the moment where we will be rotating and using our transfers to get through those other midfielder slots, and make sure that we've got the optimal players in, for the upcoming game weeks, while we have that sort of 3 premium midfield with Salah, Saka, and Palmer in there at the moment. Again, same as last week, as I had Bukayo Saka in here. I have had to include Mo Salah in here just because of his exceptional form at the moment. If you do not have Mo Salah in your team and you have been holding out, just give up and bring him in, because he's just been exceptional this season, and he's someone that you just can't be playing FPL without at the moment. And you will continue to lose rank if you don't bring him in to your side, despite being in the majority of teams at the moment. Final one for me, Jurriën Timber. As I spoke about, Arsenal have some really great defensive fixtures. Timber's been playing in that sort of inverted right wing back, right back role for Arsenal. He's really been pushing on, linking up with Saka well, getting into the box, having a lot of touches in the box, and also scored from a corner this week. So he's part of that sort of corner routine that Arsenal have nailed down so well. And he's looking like a great pick in defense at only 5.6 million, at fullback for probably if not the best defense, the second best defense in the league, with great fixtures. So for me, Timber is someone that you definitely want to be getting in your team if you can, at the moment. Moving on from that, I kind of want to just go on to the sort of captaincy discussion, and then we'll go on to sort of our tactical discussion and predictions for the week. Captaincy this week, I think is for a lot of people is probably a lock on Mo Salah. Mo versus Everton is a is a great fixture for Liverpool. Obviously a Merseyside derby, so it will be fiercely contested by both teams. But Salah being in great form at the moment, and Everton not really being in the greatest of form, I think he's going to cause a lot of problems for Everton this game week. And despite Sean Dyche normally being so strong defensively, I think you can't go against Mo Salah at the moment with the form he's been in. I do think Cole Palmer v Tottenham will be an interesting game. Bukayo Saka v Fulham again also could be an interesting game. I think those three premiums all could pick up returns this game week, with my ordering being probably Salah, Saka, Palmer. Other options, obviously, if you have Erling Haaland against Crystal Palace, I think he will cause them a lot of problems defensively. He will. City might be able to pick up the ball in between the lines with maybe a Phil Foden, um, Kevin De Bruyne, and be able to feed those balls into Haaland, who are going to be running at the Palace defence, and cause them some issues. Ollie Watkins against Southampton is quite a nice game week this game week. And to be honest, João Pedro against Leicester should probably be a green on this fixture list. A little update needed. Is actually a nice fixture as well. For me, I prefer to go for the bigger teams that you're more confident are going to win and score goals in those games. So it would be either a Liverpool, an Arsenal, a Chelsea, a Man City, those sort of teams. And the differential captain for me this week would be an Ollie Watkins, because Southampton have been so poor defensively, have been giving away the ball so frequently, and Ollie Watkins could potentially profit off that. However, having said that, I don't think Villa have the most high energy attacking press. Not nowhere near the same as Chelsea. Not even the same as Liverpool, whose press has been less high this year. And for me, that is the sort of team that's going to cause Southampton the most problems. So I think that I would stick to one of the big guns this week and stick to Mo Salah as my captaincy choice for game week 15. Moving on to my game week 15 predictions. I didn't quite have time this week to run through the sort of team observations from the midweek games, and sort of discuss my thoughts on those games, but hopefully sort of we've gone through that, as we've talked on a lot of the players this week in the statistical analysis side, and I will be sure to bring back that tactical analysis from next week, as I know you guys really love that on this channel, and that really does differentiate this channel from a lot of the other channels that are out there at the moment. My game week 15 predictions, I think Liverpool to score 2+ goals against Everton. I think they're going to cause them a lot of problems going forwards. And despite Everton being with the way that Everton play, with the sort of direct style of football, they're just going to keep giving possession back to Liverpool. Liverpool's defence with Van Dijk at the back are going to be able to deal with those long balls into either side of the defence. Potentially, if Quanta's starting again over Trent, he's going to be able to deal with that at right back. So I think Liverpool will have a lot of possession, and if they score early against Everton, they could score quite a few goals. Villa v Southampton, we've gone for 3+ goals in the game. I do think Southampton might score in this game, and I think Villa are going to win and also score a couple of goals as we go through. I think Southampton defensively have been so poor. We're expecting that game to be full of goals. Brentford, Newcastle. I do think Brentford have fallen off a little bit over the last couple of weeks. I think Newcastle are also improving. They do tend to be a little bit up and down, and their form away from home has not been amazing this year. And Brentford's form at home has been fantastic. So I think this pick is a bit of a against the trend pick for this season. But I just think the way that Newcastle are playing at the moment, and the sort of fluid nature of Brentford's attack, Newcastle might be able to catch them out on quite a few counter attacks and sort of score and be able to get something out of this game. Palace v Manchester City. Palace notoriously have caused Man City a lot of problems all the time at Selhurst Park. Have always been sort of a bogey team for Manchester City. I do think they will be able to score, but I think City is starting to turn their engines up a little bit more now. De Bruyne being able to start and play that whole game was really important to City, created a lot more. Grealish was back in that team. I do think City will be a little bit too much from them, even at Selhurst Park. But I do expect both teams to score, and it might not be a runaway victory for Man City. United v Forest. I think both teams are a little bit more defensive. I would say I think under Amrin, United is starting to try and work through their attacking play. It has been a little bit more dynamic, but again, I don't expect either of these teams to be super aggressive in the game, and I think it will end up with 2 or less goals in that game, hopefully with a Chris Wood goal. For the Arsenal, I think they're the ball in the games and the way they're able to counter attack at such pace. And I do think Arsenal have actually been a little bit susceptible to some really high-paced counters and have conceded quite a lot of chances this season, more so than they were last season, where they were a lot more controlled in possession. With Odegaard back, they have managed to sort of become a little bit more controlled with Rice in the team, Partey in the team, etc. However, I do think Fulham will manage to catch them out at some point in the game and score a goal on the counter. Bournemouth v Ipswich. I watched Ipswich v Palace this week, and Ipswich really lacked a lot of creativity, and it was a real surprise for me because I thought they really needed to win that game, and that was a really important game for them, with them um, not having an away win and Palace not having a home win so far the season. I think that they will struggle again against Bournemouth, as they just seem to lack a lot of creativity, and I think Bournemouth will manage a clean sheet in that game. Leicester v Brighton, both very attacking teams. Under Rude, Leicester have sort of rejuvenated a little bit in the last game, and under Hertzler, Brighton have been sensational this season. Obviously, with a fantastic, high, energetic press that I do expect to cause Leicester problems. I do expect Leicester to also be able to break through that press a few times and then get into that Brighton defence. So I think it will be a game played in the transitions phase, quite a transitional game. I expect both teams to score in this game and potentially the game to be a high scoring one. Spurs v Chelsea, I think it's quite a difficult one to pick because I'm not quite sure how the managers will set up against each other. Both of these managers are able to sort of flex their styles a little bit. I know Ange maybe a little bit less than Maresca, but Maresca has played a lot of different tactical setups so far this season. I would expect him to play with the physicality in the middle. I think potentially Caicedo and Lavia may start in there, or Caicedo and Enzo will start in there. So you have that physicality of Caicedo. He might not play in that inverted right back role that he did play in the previous games. And I expect Enzo to push on into that attacking midfield and try and catch Spurs out. I think it will be interesting to see whether Spurs will be able to break down that Chelsea high press and get into the midfield area. Spurs, I would say, are teams who are able to sort of bring the ball out through the press, and they are a team that I think could cause Chelsea a few difficulties defensively. This is one of the games that suits Spurs a little bit better, where the other team is not going to sit in a low block and stifle their creativity. Chelsea are going to be attacking and going forwards, and therefore I expect both teams to score in this game. West Ham versus Wolves. Wolves have been super poor defensively this whole season. Really haven't worked out a structure of how to defend. They did go back to that sort of back five with Lamina in the back line, but it just didn't quite work out in their last game. I'm expecting West Ham to score, and I expect BOWEN to return for them with a West Ham win in that game. I think there's a potential that Fulkrug could be back and playing up front for West Ham, and hopefully he'll sort of create that sort of pivot or target man role for West Ham that can hold up the ball and allow their midfielders in Kudus and BOWEN to get into the action and run in behind. Those are my game week 15 predictions. Let's see how they go this game week and whether they are going to be accurate. We will also just touch on sort of a roundup of the previous game week, how my team did. I know you guys prefer information about your own team, so I normally leave this stuff to the end. But 289k in the world at the moment. We've really been improving and getting up the ranks each game week. I think it's really down to that sort of tactical analysis that we've been doing weekly of all of the teams, discussing the pros and cons of these games. This is my team for this game week. Again, we have the captaincy armband on Mo Salah, vice captaincy on Jarrod Bowen against Wolves. We're starting Chris Wood on the bench. We're going for double City defense, hoping for the best against Crystal Palace, because I do expect Brentford to score against Newcastle and Brighton to score against Leicester. So I think the best chance of some returns there is definitely Guardiola attacking, and hopefully for a City clean sheet in that game. Chris Wood sitting on the bench against Manchester United, just because I think that might be a low-scoring game. And the rest of the players, again, with Watkins and Rodgers both against Southampton, I'm keen to get them in the team. Thanks again, guys. I hope you enjoyed watching this. Please subscribe to the channel if you can. It will really help this channel grow as a small channel if you like these videos. Please like as well on YouTube, so that this gets pushed out to more people, and comment below with any questions you have on your team, and I will do my best to answer as many questions as possible. Hopefully I can answer everything. I will be traveling over the next day or so, so that's why I'm doing this video now for you guys. I won't be able to get back in time for a live stream this week, but I will continue to live stream every week going forwards. Unfortunately, I'll be traveling at the time. I hope you all have a fantastic game week. Good luck, make good choices. Hope the captaincy decision goes well, and I will see you next game week. Thanks a lot, guys.